People don't just choose the most attractive option. They choose the person who makes them feel something special. Think about it. When was the last time you met someone who checked every box on paper but left you feeling nothing? Now contrast that with the person who maybe wasn't your usual type, but they had this energy, this undeniable presence that made them unforgettable. That's the difference between being chosen and just being another option. We live in a world where everyone has options. Social media, dating apps, constant opportunities to meet new people. It's never been easier to connect with someone, but connection is not enough. If it were, every date that had great conversation would turn into a relationship. The real key is creating an emotional experience that sets you apart. Because options don't mean anything if someone feels something for you that they can't get anywhere else. Think about the times you've really wanted someone. Not just because they were attractive, but because there was something about them that made you feel different when you were around them. Maybe they made you laugh in a way that no one else did. Maybe they challenged you to think differently. Maybe they made you feel seen, truly seen, in a way that made the rest of the world fade away. That's the feeling you need to create. It's not about trying to be the best option. It's about being the only option that makes someone feel a certain way. Because when someone feels something deeply with you, logic takes a back seat. They stop comparing. They stop calculating. They just know they don't want to lose that feeling. But how do you create that? It starts with energy. Not the fake kind where you're trying too hard or playing a role, the kind of energy that comes from genuinely enjoying yourself and the moment you're in. People are drawn to those who bring life into a room, who make interactions feel effortless. When you're genuinely engaged in a conversation, when you laugh without holding back, when you express excitement over something, that energy is contagious and it makes people want to be around you. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They think they have to impress someone with how interesting they are. They try to tell the best stories, be the funniest person in the room, or prove their worth with achievements. But the real magic happens when you make them feel interesting. When someone walks away from an interaction feeling better about themselves, they associate that feeling with you. Ask deeper questions, genuinely listen, respond in a way that makes them feel understood. It's one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to create an emotional experience. The next part? Contrast. The best experiences have a mix of emotions. If every interaction is just nice, it becomes forgettable. But when there's a mix of excitement, playfulness, a little bit of challenge, and moments of vulnerability, it becomes something they can't stop thinking about. Imagine someone making you laugh one moment and then the next, sharing something real about themselves that makes you feel closer to them. That contrast creates a deeper emotional connection because it feels real. It's not just surface level fun, it's depth. And let's talk about presence. We live in a world full of distractions. People are constantly half present, scrolling on their phones, thinking about what's next, or waiting for their turn to speak. When you're fully present with someone, you give them something rare, your undivided attention. You're not checking your phone, you're not planning your next move, you're fully there, in the moment, engaged. And that's powerful because when someone feels like they have your full attention, it makes them feel valued, it makes them feel important. Now, here's something that will make you stand out even more. Be the person who makes others feel comfortable being their true selves. Most people walk around with their guard up. They're afraid of saying the wrong thing, of being judged, of not being enough. But when they're with you, if they feel safe to be who they really are, that's something they won't find in just anyone. It's that feeling of, I can just be me around this person that makes them choose you over everyone else. And once someone feels that, they won't want to let it go. So stop worrying about being the most attractive, the most successful, or the most impressive. The people with the most options aren't looking for someone who just ticks boxes. They're looking for someone who makes them feel alive. And when you create that feeling, suddenly their options don't matter anymore because they won't be looking for the best choice. They'll just know it's you. You see, a lot of people think that the way to make someone choose them is by being the nicest, the most agreeable, the person who never disagrees, never pushes back, never disrupts the flow. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction isn't built on sameness, it's built on contrast. It's built on the moments where someone stops and thinks, wow, I didn't expect that. That's where the magic happens. Think about it. When you meet someone who is a little unpredictable, someone who doesn't just roll over and agree with everything you say, what happens? They intrigue you. They make you wonder about them. They create a challenge that pulls you in. That's what being a playful challenge is all about. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't about playing games. This isn't about manipulation. This is about showing that you are someone who has standards, who has an opinion, who isn't just desperate to be liked, but is looking for the right match. And the way you do that is by making sure that you are engaging, playful, and just unpredictable enough to keep things interesting. When you're too agreeable, you become forgettable. When you just go along with everything someone says, you don't stand out. But when you add a little friction, a little playfulness, suddenly you're memorable. Suddenly you're the one they can't stop thinking about because you made them feel something. Picture this. You're on a date and they say, I love pizza. Now, most people, in an effort to be liked, will say, oh my God, me too. And that's fine. But what if instead you said, oh no, don't tell me you're one of those people who thinks pineapple belongs on pizza. Now it's playful, now it's teasing, now you've created an interaction that has energy. Instead of just agreeing and moving on, you've created a spark. And that's what people remember. When someone has options, when they are surrounded by people trying to impress them, the only way to stand out is by making them feel something different. And nothing makes people feel something quite like a little bit of a challenge, a moment where they realize, wait, this person isn't just impressed by me, they actually have their own mind. Because here's the truth, people don't just want to be adored, they want to earn it. They want to feel like the person they are with isn't just impressed by their looks or their charm, but by something deeper. If you just fawn over someone, they might appreciate it, but they won't necessarily respect it. But if you give them a playful challenge, if you show them that you have opinions, that you're not just there to agree with everything they say, then suddenly they start to see you differently. You're no longer just another admirer, you're an equal. Someone they have to work for, someone they want to impress, someone they can have real conversations with. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if I push back and they don't like it? What if they just want someone easy? And to that I say, good, let them go. Because the right person, the person who is truly worth your time, isn't looking for easy. They're looking for exciting. They're looking for someone who makes them feel alive, someone who challenges them in a way that makes the interaction feel electric. There's an energy shift that happens when you start interacting this way. Suddenly, you're not the one seeking their approval. Suddenly, they're wondering how they can get yours. Because that's what happens when you create a playful challenge. You flip the dynamic. You make it about mutual attraction, not just one-sided admiration. Think about some of the most compelling relationships you've ever seen. Were they built on mindless agreement, or were they built on moments of teasing, moments of challenge, moments where two people pushed each other in a way that created excitement? I guarantee you, the relationships that stand the test of time, the ones that are filled with passion, are not the ones where both people are just constantly nodding along. They are the ones where there's a little tension, a little back and forth, a little playful friction that keeps things interesting. This doesn't mean being difficult for the sake of it. This doesn't mean arguing over every little thing. It just means having a perspective, having something to say, not being afraid to disagree when it matters. Because when you do that, you stop being just another option and you become the option. You become the person who makes them feel something different from everyone else. Attraction thrives on unpredictability, not in a way that creates insecurity, but in a way that creates excitement. And when you can master that balance of being both a safe space and a playful challenge, you become unforgettable. And that's when they stop seeing you as one of many options and start seeing you as the only one worth choosing. You see, when someone has a lot of options, the way to stand out isn't by trying to be more attractive, more charming, or more available than everyone else. It's by being someone whose life is so rich, so full, so undeniably magnetic that they can't help but be drawn in. Because at the end of the day, attraction isn't just about how you look or what you say. It's about the energy you bring into the room, the way you make people feel when they're around you. And that energy comes from the life you're living outside of them. Think about the people you're most captivated by, the ones who seem to have a natural pull, where you just want to be in their world. They aren't the ones constantly chasing, trying to prove their worth, or waiting around for someone to choose them. They're the ones who are already busy building something incredible, creating moments, experiences, and memories that make life exciting, whether or not someone else is there to witness it. And that's where most people get it wrong. When they meet someone they're interested in, their focus immediately shifts to how do I keep them interested? How do I make them want me more? They start adapting, shifting, molding themselves into whatever they think that person wants. They cancel plans, they become overly available, they agree with everything, and in doing so, they lose the very thing that made them attractive in the first place, their edge, their individuality, their life. The moment you start living as if your happiness, your fun, your sense of adventure is dependent on whether this person chooses you, you've already lost your power. Because now, instead of being someone they feel lucky to be around, you've become someone who needs them to feel complete. And people don't choose the person who needs them. They choose the person who inspires them. So what does that look like? It means shifting your focus away from them and back to you. It means having passions that light you up, goals that excite you, and a sense of purpose that gives you something to wake up for every single day. It means prioritizing your friendships, investing in your hobbies, learning new things, traveling, creating, becoming the kind of person who is already fulfilled, regardless of whether someone steps into your life or not. And here's the magic of it. When you have that energy, when you have a life that is genuinely fulfilling, people feel it. They can sense that you're not just sitting around waiting to be chosen. You're choosing yourself every single day. And that is intoxicating. Because let's be honest, most people are waiting for the right person to come along before they start really living, waiting for a relationship to make them feel whole, waiting for someone else to give them permission to feel valuable. But the moment you stop waiting and start living as if your life is already full, you shift from being just another option to being the only option that truly stands out. Now, let's talk about confidence. Confidence doesn't come from being the most attractive person in the room. It comes from certainty. That certainty that your life is incredible, that you bring something special to the table, and that whether someone chooses you or not, you're still going to wake up tomorrow and live a life you love. That kind of confidence isn't loud. It doesn't beg for attention, and it doesn't need validation. It simply is. And people are drawn to that certainty like a magnet. So the next time you find yourself obsessing over whether someone is choosing you, take a step back and ask yourself, am I choosing me? Am I living the kind of life that makes me proud? Am I engaging in things that bring me joy, expanding my world, deepening my connections, and growing as a person? Or am I just waiting, hoping that someone else's choice will validate my worth? Because if you're waiting, you've already given your power away. The truth is, the most attractive people aren't trying to be chosen. They're too busy living to worry about whether someone else is picking them. They are the ones who inspire, who challenge, who bring something different, who make you want to be better just by being in their presence. And the best part? The more you focus on becoming that person, the less you'll even worry about whether someone is choosing you, because you'll realize that the right person, the one who truly deserves you, won't just choose you. They'll fight for the chance to be part of your world. So stop waiting, stop molding, stop chasing, start living. Because when your life is full, when your happiness isn't dependent on them, when you are the source of your own fulfillment, that's when you become truly irresistible. There's something most people overlook when they're trying to stand out. They think it's all about being the most fun, the most exciting, the most attractive. And while those things do matter, they aren't what truly makes someone choose you over everyone else. You see, in a world where people have endless options, where they can swipe left, swipe right, and meet someone new in seconds, what they're really searching for isn't just excitement, it's relief, a place where they can breathe. And if you can be that for them, you become irreplaceable. Think about it. People spend their lives putting on a show. They walk through their days performing. At work, they have to be sharp and capable. With friends, they have to be fun and entertaining. Online, they have to present the perfect life. And when they're dating, they're constantly analyzing. Am I saying the right thing? Do they like me? Am I coming across well? It's exhausting. So what happens when they find someone who lets them take off that mask? Someone who, instead of making them feel like they have to keep performing, allows them to just be. That person becomes the one they never want to let go of. See, a lot of people focus on impressing someone when they first meet. They highlight their best qualities. They try to be funny, charming, seductive, and that's great. It gets attention. But attention isn't the same as attachment. What actually makes someone feel connected to you is when they realize that with you, they don't have to try so hard. You're not just another option in their life. You're the one who gives them something they didn't even realize they were missing. Let's be real. When someone has a lot of choices, they're going to be drawn to the person who makes them feel the best. And no, I don't just mean in the high energy dopamine hit way. I mean the deeper kind of feeling. The kind that says, I'm safe here. Because the truth is, even the most confident, attractive, successful people still have insecurities. They still have doubts, fears, moments where they feel lost. And if they feel like they have to keep up an image around you, if they have to constantly prove something, then they're not going to stay, because it's not sustainable, it's tiring. And eventually they'll go searching for someone who makes them feel at peace. So how do you actually create that? How do you become that safe space without falling into the trap of being their emotional crutch? It starts with how you show up. Are you constantly seeking validation? Do you need them to like you to feel good about yourself? Or are you someone who has already built that inner confidence, who doesn't need to prove anything? Because the more secure you are, the more they'll feel like they can be secure with you. It's about how you listen. Most people listen to respond. They're thinking about what to say next, how to impress, how to steer the conversation in their favor. But when you really listen, when you show someone that their thoughts, their emotions, their experiences actually matter to you, that's when they start to relax. That's when they stop trying to win you over and instead start feeling safe with you. And that's what makes them want to stay. It's also about how you handle their vulnerabilities. When someone opens up to you, when they share something real, something they don't tell just anyone, what do you do with that moment? Do you brush it off? Do you make a joke to lighten the mood? Or do you hold space for it? Because here's the thing, people don't always need solutions. They don't need you to fix them. Sometimes they just need to know that it's okay to feel what they're feeling. And when you can be the person who doesn't make them feel judged, who doesn't make them feel weak for having emotions, who doesn't make them feel like they need to apologize for their fears, that's when they start to attach to you in a way that's deeper than just attraction. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but won't this make me just a friend? Won't they put me in the safe but boring category? No, because this isn't about being passive. This isn't about just sitting back and being their therapist. It's about creating a dynamic where they trust you, and trust is what allows deeper attraction to grow. Think about the most passionate relationships, the ones where people can't get enough of each other. They're not just built on excitement, they're built on a foundation of trust and emotional safety. Because when someone feels truly comfortable with you, when they feel like they don't have to constantly be on, that's when they start to crave you. That's when choosing you doesn't even feel like a choice. It feels like the only option that makes sense. But here's the catch. You have to be selective. You have to be discerning about who you offer this level of presence to, because not everyone deserves it. There will be people who take advantage of your emotional depth, who see you as a place to dump their baggage without giving anything back. And that's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is creating an environment where two people can be real with each other, where there's mutual respect, mutual effort, and mutual care. And when you do this right, when you become the person they feel safe with and the person who excites them, challenges them, inspires them, that's when you stop being just another option. That's when you become the only option that truly matters. There is something fascinating about the way we as human beings assign value to things. We chase what feels just out of reach, we desire what seems rare, and we instinctively protect what we're afraid to lose. This is no different when it comes to attraction. If someone senses they have you no matter what, if they feel like you're never going anywhere, they may start to undervalue you. Not because they're cruel, but because certainty often breeds complacency. This is why the fear of losing you isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about reminding someone that you are a person of value, someone who is a privilege to have, not a given. Think about the most sought-after things in life: a high-end restaurant with a wait list, a rare piece of art, a concert ticket that sells out in minutes. The reason these things are so desirable isn't just because they're great, it's because they're not easily accessible. It's not about making someone jealous or withholding affection. It's about subtly demonstrating that your time, your attention, and your presence are things that need to be earned, not assumed. Have you ever noticed how in the early stages of dating, there's this thrill, this electricity? You're not fully certain where the other person stands, and that mystery creates intrigue. But as soon as someone becomes overly available, constantly texting, making themselves the default option, something shifts. The other person might still like them, but the excitement, the curiosity, the feeling of wanting to win them over, it starts to fade. It's not because they want to lose interest, but because deep down we all want to feel like we've chosen something special, not settled for something convenient. So how do you keep that spark alive? How do you make someone not just like you, but choose you when they have other options? It starts with owning your worth. When you recognize your own value, you stop treating love as something you need to convince someone to give you. You stop showing up in ways that scream, "Please pick me." Instead, you embody the kind of confidence that makes people think, "I don't want to lose this person." Confidence isn't loud. It's not about constantly reminding someone how amazing you are or demanding that they see your value. True confidence is quiet but powerful. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you have your own life, your own priorities, your own passions. It's in the way you don't drop everything the moment they call, the way you don't cancel your plans just to fit into theirs, the way you don't rearrange your entire existence in an effort to accommodate. When someone knows that your world doesn't revolve around them, they start to feel the need to earn a place in it. This is where most people get it wrong. They think that to keep someone interested, they need to be constantly present, always available, always ready to drop everything to make the other person happy. But in reality, the opposite is true. People don't value what they don't have to work for. If they know you'll always be there, no matter what, if they sense that they can do the bare minimum and still have access to you, they won't feel that pull towards you in the same way. It's not that they don't appreciate you, it's just that human nature makes us prioritize what we perceive as scarce. This doesn't mean you should be distant or emotionally unavailable. Connection still matters. Kindness still, but there is a difference between being present in someone's life and being predictable. The moment someone feels like they don't have to make an effort to keep you is the moment they stop putting in effort at all. That's when you see relationships fade into complacency, when excitement turns into routine, and when someone starts looking at their other options because they've stopped feeling the need to win you. One of the most attractive things you can do is have a life so full, so rich, that someone feels lucky to be a part of it. When you have your own ambitions, your own friendships, your own passions, you naturally create a sense of value around your time and presence. And when someone sees that you are a person who could walk away if they don't treat you right, that's when they start to value you more. Not because you're playing games, but because they know you're not just sticking around out of fear, neediness, or lack of options. You're there because you choose to be, and that makes you powerful. People respect what they feel they can lose. If someone senses that no matter what they do, you'll always be there, they stop feeling urgency. But the moment they see that you are not guaranteed, that they could actually lose you, that's when they wake up. That's when they start appreciating the little things. That's when they start putting in effort, not out of fear, but because they want to. Because they realize that they're not just keeping you around by default, they are actively choosing to have you in their life. And that choice, that's everything. Confidence is silent. Insecurity is loud. You see, the moment you start trying to convince someone to choose you, you've already lost. The second you step into that space of, please see my value, please pick me, you hand over all of your power. Because real attraction, real connection, it isn't built on persuasion, it's built on presence. Think about the people in your life who you admire the most, the ones who make you lean in when they speak, the ones who don't demand attention, yet somehow they get it. They don't have to prove their worth to anyone because they know their worth. And that certainty, it's magnetic. Now let's flip it. Imagine being on a date with someone who is constantly trying to validate themselves. They talk too much about their accomplishments. They fish for compliments. They over-explain why they're a catch. What happens? You feel their need. You sense their insecurity. And suddenly, all that effort actually makes them less attractive. Because deep down, we all want to be around people who are solid within themselves, people who don't need to sell themselves because their presence alone is enough. That's the energy you need to cultivate, not the one that says, let me prove why I'm worthy, but the one that says, I already know I am. And when you move through the world with that energy, people feel it. They don't feel pressure, they don't feel obligation, they just feel curious, because certainty is intriguing. If you have to beg to be chosen, you've already placed yourself at a disadvantage. When you operate from that space, you become dependent on their validation to feel good about yourself. But the people who stand out, the people who get chosen over and over again, are the ones who don't make their self-worth contingent on whether or not someone picks them. They understand that being chosen by someone else is a reflection of that person's desires, not a measure of their own value. So instead of asking, how do I make them choose me, shift your mindset to, how do I show up as the best version of myself, whether they choose me or not? That's when the game changes. That's when you stop being an option and start being the standard. When you truly embrace this, you move differently. You don't chase, you attract. You stop trying to force connections, and instead you create an energy that naturally draws the right people in. Because let's be real, how many times have you seen someone work so hard to get someone's attention, only to push them away? And how many times have you seen someone who barely tries, yet they seem to have people gravitate toward them? The difference isn't looks, status, or money. The difference is certainty. Certainty is what makes someone unforgettable. It's what makes them walk away from an interaction and think, I need to see that person again. It's what makes them wonder, what's so different about you? Why you don't seem to be seeking their approval like everyone else? It's that unshakable sense of self that makes someone stop and pay attention. And here's the thing, certainty isn't arrogant. It isn't about acting like you're better than anyone else. It's not about being aloof, playing games, or pretending you don't care. Certainty is about knowing that whether or not someone chooses you, you're still going to be okay. It's about showing up fully, giving your best, and never feeling the need to force something that isn't meant for you. When you embody this, everything shifts. You stop waiting for someone's validation to feel like you matter. You stop molding yourself into what you think they want. Instead, you show up as your true self, fully expressed, and you let them decide if they're aligned with you. And that's powerful, because now, instead of trying to prove your value, You're simply demonstrating it by the way you live, the way you communicate, the way you carry yourself. People don't fall for desperation. They fall for self-assurance. They fall for the person who walks into the room and doesn't need to be chosen, but naturally commands attention through the way they carry themselves. They fall for the one who isn't afraid to walk away from something that doesn't feel right. They fall for the person who makes them think, wow, I need to be around this energy more. And here's the reality. You don't have to be the most attractive, the most successful, or the most charming person in the room to have this kind of effect on people. You just have to own who you are. When you do that, you become the person others want to be around. You become the person who, even in a sea of options, stands out. Not because you're trying to, but because your energy speaks for itself. So, if you ever find yourself thinking, how do I make them see my value? Take a step back. Ask yourself instead, am I seeing my own value? Because if you truly believe in yourself, if you truly trust in what you bring to the table, you'll never have to convince someone to choose you. They'll see it for themselves. And when they do, it won't be because you asked them to. It'll be because they realized they couldn't afford to lose you